Hey guys, so this is going to be a little bit different than my other boss fight videos, but this one's going to actually have commentary. I'm going to be talking over this cutscene because it's going to take quite some time. The reason why I wanted to do commentary for this one is because I wanted to talk about this fight in particular, for me, because I know a lot of people said that like this fight was kind of weak compared to the other icon fights, and while I agree in some aspects, mostly the reason why I feel this fight is weak is because of Barnabas as a character. And it's not that I don't like him, because you get introduced to him at the very beginning of the game, they show him, and then like they talk about him, you see the little fight between him and Dion, when the two countries are battling, when Waloed and the Empire of Sambrek are fighting, you know, you get to see that. You also see like the interaction between him and Benedicta, and then like he just kind of disappears once the time skip happens. He disappears up until like right to the point where you fight Titan, or right after you kill Titan, and then he pops in. And then suddenly you start to see that he's been like brainwashed by Ultima, and he turns into like this huge zealot, because you see him beforehand, he's trying to save the world. He wants to unite the icons because he's trying to save the world or something, and Benedicta is completely like, you know, completely on board with this. Like she thinks that what she's doing for Barnabas is really good. And it's interesting because this is probably one of my weaker areas of the game, because Barnabas could have been a really cool villain. And you know, like if you got to explore more, you got to find out why he wants to save the world. Because I don't know, I don't remember him ever really talking about why he wants to do it. You know, I think they do like some vague references to it, but they never really tell you why he's trying to do it. And then he turns into like this unfeeling zealot who pretty much has mommy issues. You know, so it's kind of like, eh. So when you get to this fight, it's supposed to be like this clash of ideals or something like that, but you only really think, like, you listen to Barnabas speak, but you just hear that he's just like this guy who worships God, and that's really all it is, you know? I don't know, and to me it ends up being weaker in that sense because, you know, you don't really learn much about him, and now he just seems like he's evil for the sake of being evil, you know? So it's like I don't really understand what he's talking. Like, I understand what he's talking about. He's basically just saying that, like, yeah, I worship God. All of this is basically to get you to, you know, I believe in the mythos and stuff. I believe in what Ultima's saying and stuff. And I don't know. He ends up becoming really preachy. And this cutscene really tells you a lot. He becomes really preachy, just a lot like Ultima himself. And like, I don't hate Barnabas, but he could have been such a better character, you know, if you actually got to find out what his motivations were, like what he's trying to do before he turns into this guy. And then you can literally see that, like, oh man, Ultima like really fucked with his head. And it's so this one ends up being like the weaker icon fights for me. Not because the fight itself is bad. Like, the boss fight itself is actually challenging and fun. You know, like Barnabas has some moves that you got to be on your toes about. He also has like the ability to do the ultimate Zen Seksuken, which he does to me actually. It's the first time I see it in this fight because I'm playing this on Final Fantasy mode. So you have to put in a little bit more work to stop him from doing it. So he actually kills me, but you'll see that later on in this fight. I left it in there. He actually does it to me twice before I figured out my rotation to actually stop him from doing it. But yeah, like overall the fight's actually pretty cool, and I can understand why some people might thought it was weaker, because they probably wanted more time with Odin, and Odin's only in here for like a little bit. And I can agree to that a little bit, because compared to, say, like Bahamut and Titan's fight, and hell, even Garuda's fight, you know, like you get much more time with those icons in the fight, so it's like, woof. And especially, you know, like Bahamut being the peak in this game, to be honest, it's the peak boss fight in this game. And then after that, you know, you get to this fight and it's like, oh, it's pretty cool, but it's not like the knock the socks off you type fight that it could be. But I don't know. I mostly just take I guess offense to how Barnabas's character really was, because he just disappears for like some portion of the game, and you don't really learn more about him and stuff, because you see that he has like these mommy issues and stuff. And I suppose if you read the lore, you might learn more about him, and I think I did, but I don't remember it. So maybe that's where most of his better lore is in the lore entries when you talk to the lore master. But to me, I feel like that's weaker. You know, like I think the lore should be like an added thing to it. You know. Plus, you notice that like when he puts the armor on, he actually gets taller. I think he like grows like a couple feet. Just notice like how he gets taller, because I think he's like the same height as Clive when he's not in his full armor or whatever. So maybe this is his semi-prime mode? That would make sense, because it's kind of different than the other ones. Because usually the other ones, when they semi-prime, they have like this devil trigger look. I'm using that as like the base of reference, because normally when they semi-prime, it literally looks like they're devil triggering from Devil May Cry. But yeah, that's ultimately that's just why I think this fight could have been so much better, is if you really got more time with Barnabas to learn him as a character, you know, because yeah, you see him only a little bit, but I also wanted to take this time to actually talk a little bit more about my some final thoughts, because after I finally got the platinum trophy, of the game. I played through it twice. And I did my first review where I talked a little bit about what I liked about the game. I kind of wanted to talk about now doing like a second playthrough, do some like other final thoughts. And it was hard for me to get through that second playthrough. I don't know what it was. I think it's the pacing of the game. It's definitely the pacing. Once, spoilers for anybody who's listening to this and hasn't got to that part, sorry about that. You can click out now before I start talking about this stuff. So 3, 2, 1, spoilers now. So when you basically get to like right after the part where Sid dies, I feel like the game kind of takes a nosedive in its pacing. And I think a lot of people have actually said the same thing. They feel like that right after the time skip, the game actually like starts to lose a little bit of steam, because you get to this point where like this big part happens, and then it goes down like really low. So like when the devs said that this game was a roller coaster ride, they definitely were right about that, because you get like these really high highs and then you get these really low lows, you know. And for me, like, it was always that stuff in between the big major parts of the story, where they were trying to do like it was almost like side quest stuff that were basically disguised as main quest. And the worst one for me was when you're doing Mid's quest. You know, when she's trying to have you run around building the ship, you know, trying to get the parts for her the Enterprise. Like, holy crap, that shit drags, and it's so bad. Like, and I hate to say that, because like the world building aspect of it is really cool. Like, if you're into that stuff, like if you were sucked into this world of Valistia, like, yeah, that stuff is really cool for you. and I can understand why you might agree with it. But for me, Valistia is such a depressing place. You know, it's full, and you know, obviously that's the whole idea of it. That's the whole premise of the world. The whole world is supposed to be depressing, right? You know, and so it's like, and so I like, there's parts of the world where I like, you know, that I like, and it's really great. You know, the storytelling's pretty great, and the world building parts of the side quests are actually pretty good. There's some side quests that are really great. I will admit that. But there is quite a few of those side quests that were kind of like they didn't do anything for me specifically. Cuz my favorite side quests were the ones where you actually got to learn more about the characters. You know, like when you got to learn more about Jill, Gav, you know, basically the ones that were at the end of the game. Those were the best ones for me. Like the side quest with Jill, the very last side quest with Jill, you know, when you're trying to like do something really special for her, you know, you want to show her the field and stuff, and then you guys you share your moment and stuff. Like, yeah, those were good side quests. And then I also liked some of the earlier side quests where you learned like how fucked up the nobles are. You know, there's that one side quest that you learn just before you go infiltrate Sambrek to take out the very first mother crystal. You know the one I'm talking about if you all did it. The one where the nobles basically just use bears as like a game. You know, they have this wolf and stuff, and they have bears get sent there basically to get killed. You know, like that side quest was great because you get to see how screwed up some of these nobles are. You know, like those side quests were really cool, where you get to see like the very ugly side of the nobility and how they treat bearers. You know, like that kind of stuff was really, really cool. But like for the most part, there's a lot of freaking side quests in there where I don't remember them, because a lot of them are just kind of like fetch questy, and they're like, here, go here, talk to this person, then go here, talk to this person, and then go back here and talk to this person. Quest done, you know. And that's how some of those main quests structures were going. You know, when I'm going back to my original point, when you do the time skip, the 5-year time skip, and then you become Sid, you know, so you're starting to do all this stuff where where you're supposed to be Sid, and now you're handling all this stuff, and it was just like nauseating, because you're supposed to be like this really powerful like entity, you know, when you find out later on, like you're really fucking powerful. You know, because a god, you know, a quote-unquote self-proclaimed god, Ultima, wants you to be his vessel. You know, so you're like this, you're supposed to be this really strong. You can absorb these icons, these nuclear powers from these other dominants, you know, and then you're running around picking you're running around picking apples and doing menial, you know, tasks, which should have been set, you know, which should have just been for other people. And it's that MMO quality type quest structure, which a lot of people have said, you know, that FF16 structure, which is understandable, but at the same time, it's like, it was bad. So it was hard to like play through that stuff again, because I wanted to do the boss fights. That was the boss fights are my favorite part in this game. And that's why I did this upload for my Final Fantasy mode, where I just did nothing but the boss fights. Because I didn't even fight the mobs. I hated fighting the mobs. I stopped fighting the mobs like probably even before Sid dies. I stopped fighting the mobs because I hated fighting them. Because they were no challenge. They didn't offer anything for me gameplay wise, you know, like they didn't. The experience you got from them was minimal. You never really needed to do it because the crafting in this game was not that great, you know. The crafting in this game was not that great, so I never really felt any need to fight these mobs, you know. Everything for me was either doing the hunts, which I wish there was way more of them. I wish they had like more S rank hunts, because that dragon S hunt rank is, oh my god, peak. It's great. That fight is great. You know? So I wish there was more like that afterwards. you know? Because that would have been great. Like, fighting the big monsters was great. You know, fighting the bosses was great. That's the best thing in this game. For me, at least, you know? And then, like, you know, and then playing through the story the first time was great, because obviously I skipped the cutscenes the second time because I had already seen them. But I mainly I obviously kept the cutscenes in for the boss fights, to give people a little bit of context for anybody who was watching this. But, like, but yeah, those were my favorite parts of the game. It was just like all that other stuff in between that kind of really killed a lot of the momentum for me. So I had to play this game in short bursts, and I had a hard time getting through it, which kind of sucks because like I really like this game, but I don't know if it'll be my game of the year now, because I did say that in my I guess review or something about the game, because I said that this was my game of the year at the time. But I'm really gonna have to think about it. Because I guess I'll wait for the DLC to come back to this game, because I don't know if I'm going to play it again up until like when the DLC comes out. Which I assume is going to come, right? There's going to be some Leviathan DLC. I mean, they heavily hinted at it, you know. Leviathan was even name drop in the game, so I assume that Leviathan will become a DLC at some point. So I'm really excited to see what they do for the DLC for this game, you know, because like it's a great game. I'm not gonna take that away. It's just it definitely has some low lows, you know. I have to be able to admit that, you know, because not every game's perfect, you know. But and I'm not gonna take it away for anybody who does like that kind of stuff, you know, who did like these side quests, you know. More power to you. You know, if you liked it, I'm happy. I like the world building parts of it, so that's why it's good the first time around. Like they were bearable the first time around, but a second time around, whew, woof. Good thing I didn't need to do a whole bunch of side quests in my second playthrough, you know. I only did the ones that I really wanted to do, you know. Basically like the blacksmith one, so I could craft ultimate weapon later on in the game. That was kind of the ones that I ended up doing. But yeah, I mostly just wanted to talk a little bit about like my final thoughts of the game and stuff, because I've been seeing a lot of it on Twitter. A lot of people have been like, you know, giving their opinions, and if you say anything negative about the game, like some people get upset at you or something like that. And then there's a lot of people that are just needlessly shitting on the game, saying it's really, really bad. And that's, I guess, if that's how you feel about the game, I guess the game's not really for you. But like for me, I enjoyed it, you know. I just wish that there was some other things in the game. I wish that I kind of wish they just went all in on like the action portions of it. Not just they took all the RPG elements out of it and just went full on action game on it. You know, because I honestly think that the crafting was very unnecessary, because you craft a weapon and you use it for like what, one mission, and then you end up getting something and then you upgrade into like the next weapon. So then it basically negates any of the other weapons that you may like, about how you may like, oh, you like the look of this weapon, but this weapon has more attack power and stagger. And that was really all they were for. So you ended up using that weapon because it gave you more attack and more stagger. So you didn't end up using any kind of weapon that you like the look of, you know. So I kind of wish they had a transmog system if they were going to keep these RPG elements in there. So then you could make the weapon look the way you want. It's one of the reasons why I liked Final Fantasy VII Remake's weapon system, because that was cool. Because I used nothing but the Buster Sword for Cloud, you know, because the Buster Sword is viable. It's a great weapon. It's like the most well-rounded weapon out of all the weapons for Cloud, you know. And then they had different kinds of weapons. They had one if you wanted to make a magic build, then they had one if you wanted to do straight just attack power, you know. And then the Buster Sword was like your jack of all trades weapon, and then they had the other weapons that you could use, you know, the nail bat. You know, that's what made that cool. So it gave you choice on what kind of weapons you wanted to use. And that's why I kind of wish that they had that in this game, because think about it. You fight the icons, you get this ability to make their weapon, but their weapon doesn't do anything other than just give you a little bit more attack and stagger. Which once you use that, you'll use that weapon for one mission, you'll get the next icon weapon, and then basically the other one you have to use to craft into this other one, and then it doesn't do anything other than give you more attack and stagger. Like, it doesn't do anything gameplay wise, which I think would have been really cool if they actually had that. If say your weapon gives you like an extra combo attack or something, you know, like Kingdom Hearts had that. Their weapons had like the ability to basically add different kind of gameplay features, you know what I mean? If you understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, see, here's the ultimate Zansetsuken. They got absolutely murked. But yeah, that was one of the things that Kingdom Hearts did well, because they did like a combo. They had like a weapon would do like a combo plus, or this weapon would, you know, I don't remember a whole bunch of them off the top of my head, but like, you know, the weapons had gameplay, you know, gameplay changes, and I wish that they did that. Because say that when you use Shiva's weapon or something, you know, it boosts up your Shiva icon abilities. So it kind of be like, oh, I want to use Shiva's icon abilities. So now if I use this weapon in tandem with it, I get an extra gameplay change. So it really adds more to your build. See, that would have been really cool, you know. But they didn't have that, and I'm okay with them not having elemental weaknesses. I know I've heard some people complain that they didn't like that they didn't have elemental weaknesses, which I'm okay if they didn't. You know, I'm okay that they didn't have that, as long as it had like, if it had like different gameplay, you know, gameplay abilities, or maybe just changed up a way a certain icon ability worked if you use that weapon, you know, so really add more credence to your build. That would have been a nice little feature, because yeah, for me it just felt like it doesn't matter what my weapon was, it was basically just a stat stick, you know, just whatever had the highest attack and stagger, I was going to use it, despite if I didn't like the look of the sword. Because there was some swords, like the Invictus sword that you get when you get Clive's, you know, when you get Clive's new outfit that you get with it. Like, that sword's really cool looking. But you get that relatively early in the game that it becomes obsolete rather quickly, you know. And that kind of sucks, because that sword looks really cool. And then there were some other swords that looked really cool, you know, but you didn't get to use them for very long, and that's kind of like that's my complaint for that. Other than that, you know, it would have been great. Like, if they wanted to do the RPG elements, they should have added a little bit more to it. That's why I say that they should have went all in on action if that's how they were going to do it, you know, if they were just going to do it like this. But like, yeah, the gameplay's amazing. Not really much I would say, other than the fact that I wish that there was better trash mobs, or if they upgraded throughout the game, because you end up fighting the same trash mobs throughout the entire game, like wolves, chocobos, you know, your standard orcs. Yeah, you get the goblins and stuff. There wasn't a whole lot of like enemy variety, you know, towards the later game. And it was just kind of like, I've seen these guys before. And then, you know, when they start turning them Akashic, they just all they really did was just made them look all ashy and stuff. And it was like, all right, they still fought the same. They were still the same enemies as before, and it was like, okay, yeah, this is okay, I guess. You know. But yeah. And then I wouldn't have minded if the game was actually a little bit shorter. If they would have just cut out some of this other stuff and then just made it this, you know, just this very more, I don't know, just cut out all that in between that in between quest shit, you know, because a lot of the character building is in the side quests, which I think should have just been in the main story. To be honest, would have helped it a lot more, because you get a lot of the better like character building in the side quests. You know, I know, and it feels like I'm shitting on the game a lot when I'm not, because I actually, you know, like I've said it like 5 times already. I'll keep saying it. I really like this game. It was a really great game. But there's definitely some pitfalls to it, which is fine, because every game's got the pitfalls. I'll even say the same thing about Final Fantasy VII Remake. There's some pitfalls in that game too. See, this is one of the things, you know, like, you got all these really good devs for the gameplay side of it. Now Square Enix just needs to hire some people to do like their, you know, their quest design and level design, and then bam, there you go. You got yourself a really great game, you know what I mean? Like, you'd be hard pressed to argue against it, you know, if they could get some like better quest designers and better level designers. Because yeah, they have some really, like, this game's got some really beautiful environments. I don't know what I was trying to do here. Oh, I think I was trying to Titan block that attack and it didn't work. But yeah, like, they got some, like, this game has some very beautiful, like, vistas and environments and shit. You know, like, there's some beautiful looking places, but the level design is that standard Square Enix level design where it's just like very beautiful hallways, you know, and there's really nothing to do with them. Nothing to do in them, you know what I mean? That's how like 7 Remake was like, they had cool corridors, but there was nothing in them, you know? That Square Enix design. Like, you have to admit that like Square Enix games definitely do not have great level design. They have great environments, you know, just not great level design, you know? This man turns in, you know, this is hilarious because the guy who voices Barnabas is the same guy who does Malos in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So you get the circle of Malleus. It's like, nice. At least I believe it's the same voice actor. I've heard some people say he was. I haven't like fact checked that yet, so if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. So yeah. But overall, like, yeah, this, like, he has really cool attacks. Barnabas has, in closing, he has really cool attacks. Like, yeah, see? Really cool looking attacks. He's a pretty tough boss, you know, I like it. He's a pretty challenging boss. Like, he's got some challenge to it if you're not on your toes. And yeah, but it's just like, a lot of people wanted more Odin. I would have liked more Odin, you know, for me. But yeah, Barnabas as a fight's really cool. It's just that Barnabas as a character really falls off, and I wish he had more. I wish he got more time to really learn him, because you got to learn about Benedicta. You know, you got to learn a lot about Hugo the soy boy. Definite simp over there. And then Barnabas, you know, who actually had a relationship with Benedicta, really didn't even bat an eyelash that she was dead. But I guess it goes to show that, like, he didn't really care about her. He only really cared about, I guess, his ambitions, I guess. But, or maybe he did care, you know, we just never got to see it. But, you know, I wish we got more time with Barnabas, you know, to learn more about him, especially with him being a villain. Because then it would have been like, whoa, this dude was like a beloved king. It's why I would have liked to have been able to see Waloed before it got all screwed up, you know, before basically everybody turned Akashic, you know. So you see there when basically Waloed's is a ghost town, and it sucks, because I would have liked to have seen what kind of king Barnabas was. You know, like, was he a beloved king? Was he a hated king? You know, because it seemed like Waloed was, you know, they loved their king. So I would have liked to have seen how he ruled his, you know, his people. That's kind of something I would have liked to have seen. Because then that impact later on, when you really get to see, like, what happened to Waloed. When you got to see, like, damn, everybody turned into, like, this zealot that worships Ultima, you know? and it's like, crap, damn, that's what happens. And then you feel it, you're like, damn, because then you can actually feel for Barnabas. You're like, shit, dude, this guy really got manipulated into believing that, you know, he was part of this cause. You know, it sucks. That's something I would have liked to have seen. That's what I would have liked to have seen for him. But anyways, it was a nice little 30-minute talk, and I'll let the fight play out, let the last cutscene play out, and then yeah, I'll upload the rest of the videos. Maybe I might talk about some more boss fights. But yeah, hopefully you guys like this. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me some of the things that you liked about the game, what you didn't like about the game. You know, tell me what your favorite boss fight is. You know, just leave that shit in the comment section, and I would love to hear what you guys think. You know, so yeah. So thanks for listening to my TED Talk, and I will see you guys in my next videos. Peace. Enjoy the rest of the vid.
The day is at an end.
And we both know the truth. It is I who stand victorious. My will that prevailed.
Your will? No. It was his. Clive Rossfield. Perhaps there is strength in will. Would that I had not relinquished my own.
You relinquished nothing. What was it, if not will, that made you strive for a new world? Strive to win your master's approval. You were shown a fantasy, and you chose to believe it. But you were wrong. There is no world but the one we live in. And that world is worth saving, even if it means killing a god.
words from one who has served the Lord so well.
This is pointless.
But I almost forgot. I promised that I would make you presentable. Did I not? We shall fulfill our destinies, just as the Lord's Mother Crystals have fulfilled theirs. Come, Clive Rossfield. Take what is rightfully yours. Become one with God.
No!
At long last, salvation. I'm coming home. Mother.
Tell me, how does it feel?
Show yourself! Face me!
How does it feel to consume your rival's strength, to gorge yourself on their being, to edge step by trembling step ever closer to the divine? With or without a will, you are still but a vessel, our vessel. Behold, how your body shudders in anticipation of its fate.
It's not yours yet.
No. Come then, O wayward child. We shall await you upon the back of the first worm. There all shall end.